has you all sense of security as Americans, has it been broken since the September 11th attacks?
Self
Sense of security.
sense of security. I guess so, but when I was younger, I guess I just grew up without actually feeling secure at all. When I was younger, I had really no sense of security. So as I grew older, you was cautious about everything. So I guess no security was lost. It's just that I never really had any. I always was cautious about, other countries doing coming in and doing attacks or whatever. So I never really got over it. It doesn't, I'm not scared to go to sleep at night, but, I don't think I'm as comfortable as I should be.
James C. Burton. James is one of my colleagues here at WLJS. Hello, James. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Glad to be here.
James, where were you during the September 11th attacks, and what do you remember from that day?
Well, it was 10 days before my 16th birthday. I was homeschooled at the time, and I slept a little bit late, and I remember waking up to my mother yelling for my dad, Bill, the whole nation is shut down. And so we go downstairs. She's turned on the TV. I think it was on CNN it was on all the channels at that time. It doesn't, the footage was the same. And we just sit there watching the Twin Towers in flames. And, this was at the time when we're thinking it's just been a terrible accident. And then all of a sudden, just with the blink of an eye, there comes the second plane. And you're just you're numb. It's so hard to explain. It's just one of those things whenever you experience something or you witness something that's just so bad, so horrible, so unbelievably, just undescribably awful, that the only way you can explain it is you had to have been there, and the whole nation was there.
At some point, everyone in here received news that the Pentagon was also under attack. It was the first tower, and then the second tower, and now the Pentagon. The Pentagon is now under attack. Did those emotions of fear escalate? Did they increase in any way?
Yes, it did, because you really didn't know what was next, It went from one thing to another. So in everyone's mind, I'm sure they were thinking, is any of us safe,
I can remember I was living in Dallas, Texas at the time of the September 11th attacks. And, Dallas is quite a large city. It's one of the largest cities in the United States. And I can remember being in my 4th grade class when we found out that America was under attack that day. And we were wondering if they were going to come to Dallas, Texas. We didn't know, because Dallas, if anyone's seen Dallas, it has big buildings, big tall buildings, just like they do in New York City. And so a lot of us had parents who worked in downtown Dallas. A lot of us had parents who worked in those skyscrapers in the downtown Dallas area. And so as little kids, as little 9-year-old kids and 9-year-old kids that we were afraid. We were scared. We didn't know whether we were safe, if our parents were safe. And at some point, our teacher did have to give us some kind of comfort and solace that, it's okay. It's okay. We're okay. And she did what she could as a teacher to just calm us down, to calm her 9-year-old, 10-year-old students down. Because when you're a little kid, you're very rowdy. You're very jittery. And so I can only imagine, so it was. No one felt safe. How do you all kind of cope with those feelings even 11 years later? Because 11 years later, there are so many people, especially you, Sierra Tillman, you were that little girl in the class who was wondering, where is my mother? Why hasn't she come to pick me up yet? And then you come to find out that your mother is on her way to New York to cover this tragedy, that everyone in school is getting checked out as a result of. Do you still think about that day around this time, around the September 11th anniversary? Do you still think, does that little girl inside of you come back out again?
I do. I feel like, my mother and me, that's my personal connection to it. But I feel like I remember everyone every year. I feel like it's my duty, kind of. And yeah, like for me, where my mother works, I have to wonder every time something happens, is my mom's building gonna be the next building? And at 23, it does not go away. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I kind of talk myself through it. I talk to her about it. I talk to different people about it. But yeah, I mean, it's still 11 years later. It definitely still affects me, but I try not to let it affect me because I feel like they'll win.
They'll win.
If I let it affect me, if I let it hinder me from traveling, then they've won.
Have you all sense of security in traveling? Has that also been kind of disturbed every time you get on a plane, or even not even a plane, buses? When you get on the bus, or even something as trains, even something as simple as driving to the grocery store,
or even taxis,
or taxis.
Because you don't know who's driving a taxi now.
Right. Everything. Some of the simplest things, walking out of your house to go check your mailbox. Some of the simplest things that we thought nothing about on 9/11 were instantly snatched away from us in an instant. Are we safe? Who can we trust? Who can we not trust? Where can we go? Where can't we go? Pamela, you work in disaster relief. You work with American Red Cross. You see disasters of this, maybe not on the same caliber of 9/11, but you see mass chaos and mass happenings of negative repercussions all the time. Did witnessing 9/11 on television, did that kind of mentally prepare you for this field of disaster relief, or did it kind of make you more aware? Did you make it more cognitive? I'm interested to know that.
It does make you more aware, for sure, because that would be the last thing anybody would ever thought would
ever
happen.
think. Absolutely.
So yeah, it wakes you up quick. Forgot what I was going to say.
It's okay.
What was your question?
My question was, it's quite all right, Pamela. My question was, how did that prepare you? How did going through the experience or tragedy of 9/11 prepare you for your field of handling disasters, of handling mass chaos at a moment's notice?
Well, they kind of, at the Red Cross, they train you, at a moment's notice anyway.
Absolutely.
Especially that team, you already know what you need to do. I guess, extra preparedness, extra knowledge of anything that can happen as far as like suicide bombs, which can happen anywhere. The anthrax in the mail.
Absolutely.
Anything like that.
Absolutely.
You're just always cautious. I'm always cautious. I've always been cautious. So we just stay aware.
When is the last time any of you have ever been on a plane? Who's been on the plane? Who's been on the plane in the past month? In the past 30 days? Brittany?
Yeah, I just came back from Korea.
You just came back from Korea. Yes, everyone. Brittany is from. Yes, she just came back from Korea. Do you think about it when you go on planes?
Not domestic flights, but I definitely did think about it when I was taking my 14-hour flight over to Korea, because you get on the flight and you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to be okay. But 6 hours later, you're just thinking, I've been on here too long. Something has to happen. I got into that mode. And then after a while, you question yourself again, like, nothing's really going to happen. I've been on this plane so long, I just expect something bad to happen.
You just expect something bad to happen. It's interesting to me how, well, let me say this. How many of you all were on planes before September 11th, before the September 11th attacks? Sierra, you rode planes before the September 11th attacks. Okay, so what was riding on a plane like before September 11th for you?
Like, I don't remember there being rules.
You don't?
Like, I remember we travel all the time. I mean, I remember before 9/11, we lived like 20 minutes from the airport. We'd leave the house 30 minutes before the flight left. Like, we would just go park, go through security, like get in and just leave, you know? And then now, you know, post 9/11, and now I'm older, but we would have to leave like 2 and 3 hours before the flight leaves. And now you're older and you get through it and you go through security, but when you're like in the 8th grade, 9th grade, and you have these people like touching you and checking your backpack, like checking your Lunchable, like it's not
a Lunchable.
Like you're like I'm 12.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know why. Like you don't, and you see it today on TV. Like you see these kids and they're like, "Why is this person touching me, mommy?" And the mom's just like, "Well, you know, they're doing it because they want to protect you." And that's just what I say. Like, I mean, I'm a freak when I'm at the airport. Like, I am looking at every person's water bottle, their shoes, their belt, and I hate it. I look at everything, but I just tell myself, you know, it may be a hindrance or something to get to the airport and go through all this stuff and take off my belt and the shoes and the whole bit, but it's for my safety. And that's just what I tell myself. I'm just like, calm down.
Just calm down.
It's for your safety.
It's for your safety. You know, something also about September 11th is that we're so hypervigilant now. We're so hypervigilant, whereas what I said earlier, everyday things now becomes a drill. It becomes a plan of something bad could happen. Everything, you know, it's the simplest things. Going to a soccer game, going to a kid's soccer game isn't even the same anymore. Going to the mall is not the same anymore. Waking up and going to class in the morning for college students out there, that's not even the same anymore. It's not the same anymore. 11 years later, have you regained a sense of security? Have you gotten back what in the past was lost? Pamela, you're shaking your head. You're shaking your head no?
No, because each year you think, like, since that did happen, are they going to do it at the anniversary date?
Mm-hmm.
Every year you think, because you don't know. So it's just in the back of your mind. You're like, you know,
is this going to happen again? What about any of you? Have you all even 11 years later? It's been a decade and a year. Has your sense of security been regained? Diamond, you're shaking your head no. Why do you feel that way?
Mine has not, because, like, okay, me coming from Hurricane Katrina, I feel like, opposed to 9/11, no, I don't feel like anything is regained, because we lost a lot. Like, we still are regaining stuff as of today from Hurricane Katrina, and a lot of people, you know, they just feel like it's just a reward, which is really not, because like Miss Pamela, you work at the Red Cross disaster. Like, I tell a lot of people, the money that we did get, I mean, it wasn't reward money. We lost everything, like everything. I mean, you can't replace a life with money. You can't do that. You might replace a house, some shoes, but as far as a life, no, you can't do that. So no.
And you know, one thing about that, there were a lot of people, a lot of families who were recompensated from the 9/11 attacks. There was a lot of lawsuits, a lot of lawsuits that came as a result of September 11th. There was a lot of lawsuits that came as a result of September 11th, and I remember reading an article that said, I believe it was last year, that they just got through finishing all the lawsuits from September 11th. Just got through after 10 years. That's a lot of lawsuits, you guys. That is a lot of lawsuits. And so I understand, Diamond, what you mean when you say you can't replace a life. You can replace a house. You can replace a pair of shoes. You can replace a shirt. But you cannot replace a life. It is 32 minutes past the hour here on 91.9 FM WLJS. I'm sitting here with my panel of guests here on the Late Night with Ed Moore, the third season 3 premiere, and we are paying a tribute to the September 11th attacks. When we come back, more of our remembrances from that tragic day that we all